Jackson changed from the natural sciences to social sciences and finally to language teaching at the University of Florida. His educational background also spans 3 continents, namely Africa, Europe, and the Americas. He is a close watcher of diverse cultures and modes of creative expressions. He is a published poet and an academic writer. He was once a member of Gainesville Cultural Affairs Board. Welcome.
Yeah.
The next slide, you just press that button.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Well, this was my plan, that by the time it's my turn, half of the audience would have disappeared. And when I was told that I should choose when I would like to speak, I said, yes, I would like to speak in the afternoon. And it's so nice that there are very few of you here right now. But before I let you into what I want to speak about, the question I want you to please just take a piece of paper and write for me any place you have ever been to and you needed something that was not available. When you came to Gainesville, what was it that you thought that if it was in Gainesville would have made your life more comfortable, more pleasurable? So if there's anything, please take 1 minute to write. What is it that when you came that you would have loved was there? It's not a test, it's not an exam, it's just one of those things that did you take notice of something? And full disclosure, let me tell you, to get here today, I had to take 3 different buses to get to this venue. Number 8 took me to the front of the university. Number 1 took me to Rosa Park, and from Rosa Park, I took number 5 to get here. Now, I have given you an idea of what in my life would be interesting. So, it is true that my topic is developing a creative economy in Gainesville, Florida. What are the prospects and what are the possibilities? But before I take you into that, this has been my vision for years. It has tortured me in my sleep, awake, asleep. Every moment of my life since I came to Gainesville, I have been hoping that there will be a Gainesville sightseeing bus, that all those parents who pass by Florida, University of Florida, will just get on this bus and will show them the beauty of Gainesville. I would not lie to you. I came in from New Jersey, where I did my PhD. And in New Jersey, like some of you would know, there are times when we're snowed in and all of that. And I was in Newark, I was in New Brunswick, but I've never been any place like Gainesville. The amount of talent here, the amount of resources in this place is mind-blowing. But at the same time, there are always projects, but there are no institutions to house some of those projects. There are so many things that we can do together, but because of the nature of the individuals here, we prefer to live in silos and do things all by ourselves. So, if you haven't seen me at any of the events, the poetry reading, I have displayed some of my books. I get invited to South Africa because they provide the means to get there. But there is no means to get to this center where poetry happens. And sometimes when I come, it's either I have to take Uber or have to take Lyft. And I don't have the means to do that. So I don't know what yours is, but this is mine. So the bus you're looking at does not yet exist, which you already know. But it does exist in the vision of its presenter. This isn't just a rendering. It is a visualization of a potential future for Gainesville transportation and tourism landscape. As you listen to my presentation, I hope you will think along with me on how this seemingly very low-hanging fruit may come alive. However, We must approach this vision with clear eyes, acknowledging the substantial operational and regulatory mountains we have to climb. Making this a reality involves navigating complex challenges specific to our community. First and foremost, the financial implications are significant. Beyond the considerable initial capital required for procurement and modification of specialized vehicles, we must account for high ongoing operational costs from high-grade fuel or advanced charging infrastructure to specialized maintenance, robust insurance premiums, and competitive wages for skilled drivers. Securing sustainable funding for this venture, whether public or private, remains a significant hurdle. If you wait around till the end of my presentation, I will return to this point later in the presentation. But first, let me go to the issue I promised I was going to speak to, the state of the orange economy. When I first heard of orange economy, I thought because in Florida here, we produce a lot of citrus and oranges. But now economies have been classified and compartmentalized by colors. So you have the green economy to do with the environment. You have a blue economy to deal with the marine resources and what you can get from it. So this is, in Gainesville, we're thinking about creativity. There's so much that we can get from this. As of April 2026, this month, Gainesville creative economy stands at a crossroad. We are navigating a resilient transition, a period where the traditional safety nets of state-level arts funding have shifted significantly, forcing us to look inwards at our own local assets. While we must navigate the multi-billion-dollar economic impact of Florida's cultural and creative sector, Gainesville's specific challenge is one of strategic capture. How do we ensure that a large share of that massive economic activity does not just pass through our city or Interstate 75, but stops, stays, and reinvests in our local ecosystem? You would simply see that I am aligning myself with three speakers that have spoken about this, and they have dropped figures. And because I'm supposed to be the last but one, I'm going to restate some of the things that they have said so that you can go home with these figures. The paradox of progress. We have the talent, that's for sure, anchored by the University of Florida and Santa Fe as well. And we have the vibe, recently evidenced by the success of festivals like the Big 2026 just 2 weeks ago. Yet, we remain vulnerable to what is called the Tallahassee cyclone, the volatility of state grants that saw over $30 million in proposed state arts funding vetoed or restructured in recent cycles. Our goal today is to outline a blueprint that moves us from a subsidy-dependent model to a strategic asset model. Now that's a lie. It's not that I have a blueprint, but I'm saying that to ginger you to think along with me, how can we develop a blueprint that would take us out of the present mess we're in? So let's look at the landscape, navigating the 2025-2026 funding reality. In 2024 to 2025 fiscal year was a wake-up call for Florida creatives. The statewide veto of nearly all general arts funding shocked the sector. However, the 2025 to 2026 cycle has shown a conditional restoration. Funding has become highly competitive, often requiring near perfect review scores. The local resilience versus the state friction. In Gainesville, we have seen a pivot towards local autonomy. The City of Gainesville's Park and Recreation and Cultural Affairs Department has stepped up with smaller, more focused grants like a small art tag grant pool, approximately between 10,000 to 15,000. Furthermore, projects like the Street Eatery, a multi-million-dollar, around $4 to $5 million, Streetscape project on Southwest First Avenue, a Cobbler Street project currently under construction downtown, demonstrate a shift towards creative infrastructure. We are no longer just funding the play. We're building the stage where the play, the market, and the community meet. So, the strategic blueprint, the 3 pillars of growth. It's not that I have an answer. It's not like this is real, but just take it as a placeholder. What should we be discussing when we want to talk about a blueprint? What kind of vision, like my own, that sightseeing bus, what kind of vision do you have? How can we create that vision that will tap into all we have? I'll tell you something, right in that room there, many years ago, the city architect was invited to give a talk, and it has never left me. And she talked about, do we want to have an arts center or a center of arts? And it looked like, well, is she just talking about, is this semantics? But ever since, I have been asking myself, what do we really need in the city? Do we need one giant structure? Or do we need structures that are all over the place that can be connected? Where do we stand? I once in a while drop to tease her that I still have not forgotten, because the presentation was so comprehensive. It's unbelievable. She had traveled to places. She presented us with case studies of what we could do. But where are we today? Where do you think we can go? Gainesville has a unique blend of Victorian history and mid-century modern academic architecture, which, of course, those of you who come to the UF campus would know. I teach a class called Is There Culture in Architecture? And I have been discussing with a few people the whole question of place, and the richness of selling a place to people. There's so much. On my way, the reason why I was late was because Shelley, who is at the Trinity United Church, said I must come in to that chapel to see the history there. And I stopped and I took the picture that Gainesville, University of Florida, Gainesville, was actually lured into this place, but they started from there. And there's rich history. And as she was taking me around, I was saying, oh my God, I need to go. 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But she said, you must stop and see. And I keep saying to myself, how many people know about what Shelley is telling me about? How many people have been to that chapel and have seen it? How can we use that as a case study? And I said to her, how can we draw traffic to this church? How can more people come? What can it be used for apart from services? I have no answer to this, but I'm a dreamer, and whether I'm awake or asleep, I'm always thinking of the richness of this place. So the retention which was spoken today by the representative of Visit Gainesville. She talked about what Visit Gainesville is not just a place where they just wanted to come. They want to make sure that faculty will come and they will stay. Every year, the University of Florida graduates thousands of world-class creatives. Historically, we have acted as a talent farm for Atlanta, Miami, and New York. Up for the New York lady, Lisa. Yes, we have acted as a farm for New York. But what strategy can we have? We need a creative residency. I know that there is a family around here in Gainesville that actually has a residency. But what can we do to bring more people into this state? You know, because I have been on the Gainesville Arts Affairs Board, it allowed me to see the richness of the various things, the programs, and you know, if you feel a little down and you want to boil up your spirit, right? Just show your face when the various arts group bid for the 10,000, the 5,000, and read what they would send. You will be blown about what people are doing and what they can do. The only thing that still bothers me is that how can we have a network? How can all of these groups once a month decide that we're going to have something that each and every one of us will contribute to? The dance group working with the Academy of Music, the Academy of Music working with the writers and the painters, and all of that in just 1 month, where I spend my time in Folkestone. You would find out there is a whole sector of a city where artists open their doors to tourists to come and see what they're doing. And these are the kind of things that I miss here. You know, it's like they're silos. But at the same time, when you think that there are silos, somebody pulls you out of your dream state that no, that people are actually cooperating, you just don't know about that. So there is niche tourism, tourism, which means from pass through to stay over. It was quite interesting to hear that idea of a bed tax, you know, that wants to sleep over and what the bed tax can do. Gainesville destination marketing must move beyond Gator game days. Align with Visit Gainesville to create arts-driven tourism packages. This includes the Creative Weekend bundles, a ticket for the Hippodrome, a tour of the Hans Museum, and a maker workshop at How Bazaar. The goal, increase the average daily rate of our hotels by attracting the high culture traveler, a demographic that spends 30% more per trip than the average tourist. I promise to bring you the picture of a sightseeing bus again. And so, you know that dreamers often lie, meaning in Shakespeare's time, you have to lie down to dream. But yes, dreamers often lie. You know, so we've talked about that. Buildings are cultural products, not just shells for activity. Of course, you know that when a child has a hammer, everything is a nail. This is what I have been teaching in Gainesville, so you expect to see that. Pillars 2 and 3, retention of niche tourism, I have talked about. Okay, so it's easy. Now, if wishes were horses, can you complete it? Beggars will ride, right? But like they say, the Jesus is in the details. When you begin to look at this dream, you know, the procurement, the operations, the sustainable funding, regulations, permitting, environmental regulations, ADA compliance, integration with existing systems, safety standards. These are all the things that put a check to my dream. But you know, because I'm a dreamer, are you there as a destiny shaper that can make this happen? Let's quickly conclude. A 2030 vision for Gainesville. A creative economy is not a luxury. It is a diversification strategy. By 2030, Gainesville should not be defined solely by university, but by what happens at the intersection of the university and the city. The successful creative economy of the future is somatic, decentralized, and self-sustaining. As I prepare to transition from my own former role, I'm expecting that there are some of you here who will link up with each other, form a stronger networking. Craig Osubi sits there and he's nodding his head. Years ago, he said to us that fundraising is actually friend raising. I don't know whether he remembers, but these are sound bites that have stayed with me for long. How can you raise friends? How can you maintain friends that will further your own vision? Questions. I'm a teacher. It's impossible to do all this talk and not raise questions. How do you ensure that the statutory serves local artists rather than just corporate vendors? 2, can the orange economy survive the continued polarization of state-level funding? And finally, what specific architectural landmarks in Gainesville are currently underutilized as cultural assets? Ladies and gentlemen, this is how far I can go, and I thank you very much for listening.